Good day and welcome to yet another edition of Practical Guide to Research with Awaah. In today's edition, we'll be looking at writing a problem statement or research gap. Now, to write a good problem statement or a research gap, it is important that usually you first identify the problem that the study intends to solve, or the gap intended to be filled within the lenses of literature in the particular field. That is, get these understanding through reading before writing out the problem statement. Clearly here, the underpinning thinking is that research is intended to solve issues or problems. And if you do not have a problem, or if there's no existing solution that still has some level of research deficit, that is what we call a gap, that you intend to work towards filling, then you may not have anything to research on. So clearly, to write a problem statement or to fill in a gap, you must do some reading around the area that you intend to investigate in bits to ensure that you get the gap or the problem statement clearly within the lenses of literature. Remember that at this stage, you are reading to understand the area and then find your niche where the problem or gap is. Number two, be convinced that the problem has not been resolved per your reading of the literature, or that that part of the problem remains unsolved. So clearly, it's just a build up on point number one. It is not by desire that you want to write a paper or investigate a phenomenon. It is that you have read and you are convinced that there is that problem that exists within the lenses of literature, or there is a gap that you intend to fill. After you've done one and two as suggested, ladies and gentlemen, you now write out in a convincing manner the outcomes of one and two, that is, the issues of the gap or the problem from the lenses of literature, in 2 to 3 paragraphs. It could be more, but I have decided to limit usually my writing to 2 to 3 paragraphs. Others do it in just a paragraph. So having noted this, we would go to a practical session using an existing study I did with some colleagues. So the paper is Corporate Governance Education in Ghana, Gender and School Library to the Rescue. We intended looking at the issues of corporate governance education in Ghana and how gender and school library influence students' understanding of the course within the university environments in Ghana. So clearly you would see the abstract, the introduction, but for today, what we are looking at is the problem statement or the gap. And this is how we went about it using the parameters that we saw in the previous slide. So we indicated that according to Parado 2022, analytical policy capacity, that is the ability to analyze policy, is essential for evidence-based policymaking. To effectively achieve this administrative capacity entails the effective teaching of students who eventually operate in the corporate sector. These are all build-ups to the problem. Despite the importance of corporate governance in socio-economic development and improving populations' welfare, capacity remains weak in many developing countries, especially in sub-Saharan Africa. Remember, we said the argument should be based on the existing literature, and this is from Caldsen Botero 2016. We also reviewed the work of Peters et al. 2011. So we introduced the problem here, but we are now getting deep into the exact problem that we intend to solve based on this introduction. Despite the assertion of Parado 2022, Caldsen Botero 2016, Peters et al. 2011, attention has still not been given to research in corporate governance education in Ghana, especially concepts students find difficult to understand. You will recall that in our in the previous slides, we indicated that it is very important for us to be convinced that the problem has not been resolved per our readings of the literature, or that part of the problem remains unsolved. So you realize that we have said that apart from the broad issues by the authors we have cited, the issues of corporate governance education seem to be minimally researched, especially in relations to concepts students find difficult to understand. We went ahead now to narrow our gap that this is further problematized by scant studies on the influence of school libraries and gender on students' understanding of corporate governance. So you would see that within 2 paragraphs, we have been able to establish what the literature says about challenges related to corporate governance education. We further looked at it from the perspective of the sub-region, and then we brought it down to Ghana to be specific. And in Ghana, we looked at the fact that corporate governance education, research on corporate governance education is minimal, and the problem is further made evident by the fact that it appears little studies are done within the lenses of school libraries and gender. So this, I think, will bring us to a closure on today's edition of Practical Guide to Research with Awaah. It is hoped that this has helped you, and we will see you again in the ensuing sessions. Thank you.